Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, Life of an NPC. It has been a while. I feel like that is my literal catchphrase when it comes to these things because there's just such a big window between when I do these. The last time I did this was at the start of this year, 2024. So, what was it, March, April time? And it's now November, specifically November the 13th day of the month. Always good luck for me. Not that I'm having much good luck recently. And I am inside this echoey room once again for my therapy session. I suppose I do need therapy, to be fair. The amount of stuff that goes through my head and I end up talking about. But I'm okay. I'm doing okay. Um, as good as I can get, to be honest. I look a bit different. I feel like my hair is thinned. I don't know what's going on with it today. I look like a hedgehog. Um, and I don't know if you can notice from my appearance straight away, especially those that are listening to this rather than watching it. I have lost a lot of weight, and that has been my main focus this year, actually. Going on a diet, hence the name of this video of why I decided to go on a diet and how it changed my life. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. Um, Obviously, there's been such a long time frame since the last video or episode, rather. It took how long? 6, 7 months. A lot has happened in my life, and in that respect, there's going to be a lot of content for me to talk about, basically, which won't just be in this episode. There'll be multiple episodes to come, hopefully soon in the future. Um, a lot closer together than it was before. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for today, I am going to be talking about why I decided to go onto a diet. Why I've been away for so long. It's because I decided to focus on that. I feel like in life you struggle to try and sometimes focus on multiple things at once. I feel like that's sometimes a guy thing. We're not very good at multitasking, but if you are, please let me know. Like throughout my life, my brain is always going off on different tangents, thinking about all these different things and different ideas. Um, Writing. I'm very creative, and with this podcast, it's been very on and off. Hence the lack of content throughout this year, because I want to try and devote as much time as I can towards the things that are the most important. Um, and for most of this year, it has ended up being on this diet. I've been on this coaching plan. Um, Obviously, I wanted to try and keep up with this sooner, but hey ho, it is what it is. You guys have been missing me, I know, and if you don't see me in your day to day life, then I respect you for that. I've got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. You know, looking back on this journey of life of an NPC so far, um, this is what episode 5, I think. It's crazy how much of my life has changed since I first started it, to the point where it's been just over a year since I started this. And I'm thinking, where did I go wrong? I'm thinking if I devoted so much time as I did, more time and effort into this podcast, where would it be now? We don't know. We don't know where we're going to be in a year's time from now, from a year before. So that's why it's always good to be grateful for the stuff that you have in the moment. And I'm realizing that now. Realize what you've got before it's too late. Because as soon as you do, and that thing in particular is gone, it can ruin you. And I know this is kind of detracting from the main details of the diet, but I just wanted to provide some context, especially when I look back on my older episodes about understanding the concept of time and the relationships and social media one, how despite discussing those things, it kind of contradicted themselves for me. Um, like I said, this past year has flown by to the point where I've barely been able to dedicate any time to my little side projects such as this because I've been focusing on a diet. So my usual day, a day in the life of an NPC at the moment, would be going to work and then finishing, going to the gym, getting home 7ish in the evening, usually, making my food, having showered and going to bed Monday to Friday. That'll be it. I understand that's quite similar to a lot of people. Hence why I feel like a lot of people can relate to this sort of thing, you know. But like I say, I have a bit more time on my hands now, funnily enough. So I'm really hoping I can start dedicating more of that towards this podcast during my rest days, Wednesdays, Sundays. Hopefully, get some guests on here soon because I think a lot of people notice such a difference in quality and content when I've got other people to talk to and bounce off of and mirror, which I think could be quite handy because doing this sort of thing does get lonely, especially doing it by yourself. So yeah. Okay. So why did I decide to go on a calorie deficit? Obviously, as I'm going through this, I will try and put some photos up along here somewhere if I can. If I can't, then you guys know my gym Instagram page, _bodybuilding. Or like I say, I can just include some footage at the end of the video episode. Yeah, so I decided to go on a calorie deficit because at the start of this year, I was looking at myself and I wasn't happy with where I was mentally or physically. I felt that there was some kind of metaphorical disease inside of me that was changing me and not for the better. Like many people may not have seen that, but I felt it and how it was affecting those close around me. Some may think this is an excuse, but it's not. It's really not. And I felt that to change that because a lot of what we eat, and what we drink and what we put into our bodies really affects us. So if you eat shit, you feel shit. And I wanted to try and get around that. And by going on a calorie deficit that I maintained myself from the end of May 2024 up to about August 2024, I maintained that myself and I wasn't noticing little bits of progress, but nowhere near as much as I wanted it to. I lost roughly around 10 pounds, give or take. I think when I started, I was about 220 pounds, which is about 16 stone, I think, just over 16 stone. And the reason why I wasn't noticing my progress a lot sooner was because I wasn't measuring my food. I was just guessing. And when it's guesswork, nothing's going to be accurate. And that can be applied to all facets of life. Admittedly, there is that risk. So if you're going to be guessing something when you're driving or during an exam, more probably than not, you're going to mess it up. And that's exactly what I did. That's why I didn't notice any results sooner. So by August this year, I got in touch with a professional coach. And at first I was like, oh yeah, I just want a diet plan. And I remember the phone call quite vividly because he'd ask, oh, how's your training going? And I say, oh yeah, my training's perfect. It's sound. And again, this was a problem with my mentality. I wasn't looking from the outside inwards, you know, because we can always improve in little places. We can always tie the strings a little tighter, and people's training can always be improved. And admittedly, since then, my training has completely transformed. back when back over the last year, admittedly, I could do heavier weights, but the form wouldn't be as good as it can get. So by having the coach and filming my exercises, we could always see where I was going wrong and where it could be improved, which I'm grateful for that. I definitely have gotten my money's worth with it, and I'm still doing that because it's hard to do this sort of thing yourself, as I've said previously, devoting that time to it. And you're looking into the mirror every day, you always see the same image. So getting a professional opinion is definitely recommended. So for those of you that do train but are kind of seeing a lack of progress, I would recommend hiring a coach. Obviously, there's a cost involved, but if you do a bit of research, you can find some good coaches at a reasonable price, well within my budget, and I'm still able to afford other things. A lot of it goes onto food, but we'll get into that. And at first, I didn't realize this, but I think a lot of people need to. The implications of hiring a professional to help with your training. So obviously, it's a professional advice. You have to take it seriously. You have to cross everything down to a T with it. So follow the advice as best you can so you can get the maximum benefit out of it. And it took me a few weeks to get used to that. I think it does for anyone because of a change of routine can really take some time to adjust to. Some people can do it instantly. Personally, I can't. It does take me a while due to obviously the autism and stuff. For those that still remember. But 2 months later, so by the end of October of having this coach, I'd come down to 188 pounds. So when I started, I was 205 pounds. And then since then, I've lost over 20 pounds. Incredible. It's over 2.5 stone lost. And it was kind of scary, actually, how at first it drags, but then it speeds up and then it slows back down again. And it's kind of scary how fast that can actually happen. Like my clothes were becoming baggy. This top that I'm currently wearing, it's just like a beige, baggy kind of top. I filled out on it. I filled out this top, and now I'm starting to widen out a bit again. But when it comes to the point where it was barely fitting me because I'd lost so much weight, that was kind of scary. But that's basically what I wanted. I wanted to lose weight and see how good I could look physically without so much fat on it. And the basic premise of it is cut down on a lot of foods that contain fats. That meant cutting down on burgers, pizzas, any of your typical shit. Like you can still have it in moderation, like any balanced diet. But when you're literally restricting yourself to having oats, blueberries every breakfast time, chicken, broccoli, and rice, the stereotypical gym bro foods in the evenings, again, sticking to that routine, you do see results. And that's what it's all about. If you have a routine in your life, you will see results one way or another. And that can be applied towards having more time in relationships, having more time for the gym, a lot of other things. It's a constant cycle. Um, but now that I've got down to my lowest weight that I can get, obviously it's getting colder now in the UK again. Um, we're increasing the weight. So I'm starting to feel a bit better mentally, although that's still not without its faults. I'm getting stronger again in the gym because, as I said before, a lot of it was focusing on the exercise, the regime of the exercise, making sure my form, how you perform the exercise, is absolutely perfect in dropping the weight in that respect. So yeah, as an afterword of what it's like having a coach. It's definitely not easy. That's nothing against them, and it's nothing against you. It's a lot to dedicate yourself to because it's a costly investment. Um, I got weekly check-ins, so we're constantly monitoring my progress. So again, very beneficial. It's a lot of constructive criticism, which I really believe in. I have it a lot at work. How can you look to improve yourself? If there's something that you're not particularly enjoying, how can you look to change that? And this comes down a lot, I think, to complaining. A lot of people in my life recently are just complaining about trivial things. And I will discuss this in a future episode. But the basic answer is only complain about something if you're in control of it, because then that comes onto self reflection and self improvement. I believe I complained a lot about things in the past, but now I'm not so much like that because I felt like I was caring too much about things that weren't caring for me back. So a lot of people say stop giving a fuck, and sometimes you have to. Now I'm starting to, and just focus on yourself. So even though I'm giving you guys a lot of this advice, it's up to you whether you partake in it or not. That's what advice is for at the end of the day. So yeah, having a personal coach is different from having a PT in the sense that PTs are physically there for you during your training. An online coach is just going to give you advice. You'd have to be recording your videos of yourself doing these exercises, which again, I felt quite draining. Sometimes I could be in the mood for it. Sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes I just thinking, right, I'm going to the gym. I'm training. I can't be bothered to film today. Just get on with it. Obviously, this is going to potentially delay progress towards getting constructive feedback to see where I'm going right, where I'm going wrong. But it's all part of the process. Dieting especially was the hardest part of it, especially when it came to sticking to the same foods. Sometimes it increased, sometimes it decreased. But yeah, for anyone who has gone on a diet in the past, you guys will know this. And it's not something you can really cut corners with. You have to take it as seriously as you can to get the best results, which can be applied to life. If you mess around in a job that's giving you basic pay for minimum job responsibilities, I'm not going to name anything in particular, but if I was to give lifeguarding as an example, which I used to be, not slating anyone that currently works in the industry, not slating anyone that I used to work with, but it's kind of a minimal job. Not very much happened. If it did, it would be in a high traffic environment. And if you got paid good money for it, then fair enough. But in terms of the long term progress, it wouldn't be that rewarding, which again, I can discuss in another video. Um, so where I may have mentioned failure up to this point, training to failure on an exercise. In case you guys don't know what that is, it's essentially where you are physically pushing yourself with a particular weight that you're given without messing up your form to do it as good as you can to maximize that growth of the muscles. Now, a lot of this gym terminology may be boring you guys, but for me, it makes a lot of sense. And ultimately, it's how you look at your body. The reason I've done all of this is to improve myself. Always look for self improvement, because if you are constantly in this wavelength of not doing anything with your life and not going anywhere, you may think you are, but in actuality, you're not. And that's how I've applied this through my training. I've been doing it for over 10 years. And now to actually take it seriously and push it to the next level, where I'm going next is potentially, life altering for me. To be honest, I'm looking to compete naturally on a stage in the next year or so, which is quite a weird transition compared to when I started. When I was in high school, I did performing arts, drama, so acting on the stage in school, and now 10 years later, performing poses poses in front of an audience of people I'm not going to know, but trained professionals of what they're going to look for. So that's scary, but I can keep you guys updated about that well into the future. It won't be yet, nowhere near. I've still got a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to that. Again, if anyone wants to see the progress and where I'm currently at, you can check out my gym Instagram page. Cardio is another aspect of my training which I'm taking more seriously. So we're still doing a bit of high intensity interval training, which is where you are really pushing yourself to the maximum speed you can get up to on an exercise, whether it's the bike, stairmaster, treadmill, increasing your heart rate. That's why I wear a smartwatch now. It's not an Apple Watch. It was just a cheap one I got off Amazon for like £25. But it does what it needs. I want it to do, monitoring my heart rate, my blood pressure. Let me just check what else it does. And my sleep. Sleep is dead important for me at the moment because I've got so much on my mind that it does affect my sleep to the point where I'm taking supplements, ashwagandha. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's completely natural. It's a stress and hormone relief, basically. And as well as omega-3 fish oil tablets, very good for the heart. Um, Again, completely natural. I'm not going to be going on steroids. I can assure that with my audience 1,000 times. Obviously, I would like to get people on, trained professionals who have taken steroids, and see what their perspective is on it and whether they would recommend it to you guys or not, and discuss other facets of that. But we'll cross that bridge in future episodes. So one of my favorite cardio exercises is Stairmaster. And a lot of the time I'd be leaning into the machine. You see a lot of people do it in the gym. They'd be going at a fast pace, but they'd be leaning into it, and you're taking away that intensity in a sense, and the actual challenge of it. Whereas by not leaning on it and going on at a slower pace, you're actually going into the resistance of it more. You're feeling the resistance of it. And that's entirely the point of training, fighting against some particular resistance and building up to it as you go along, to the point now where 10 minutes used to feel like forever. Now I can do half an hour completely upright, no struggles whatsoever. And the same can be said for running. I am now a hybrid athlete, which is an integration of strength and cardio. So again, this was entirely my own doing. I'm thinking, how can I look after myself on the outside as well as the inside? And a lot of that comes down to cardio. I've said before that I am into swimming. Running is a bit of a new one for me. I've always done a little bit in the past, but I always felt loads of little niggles. And we're working through that with my coaching plan. So what inspired me to start running was a few months ago, there was an event called the Potter's Off, which is local to my home city. And it's a big event. Like, everyone around the area is involved, and I went there to support some friends. And the positive atmosphere was, it was tremendous. It was spectacular. It was very awe-inspiring, and has really motivated me to want to do the same thing. So those are some of my future goals: go into competing and do some big marathons, including this half marathon. Um, I've actually signed up to do a few over the next few weeks. I know it's weird for the time of year because it's very cold, and it's going to be icy, but obviously the circumstances and the conditions will be accommodated for those events. So I've got nothing to worry about. Just some simple 5 and 10Ks. And I'm very proud of myself for that. Running is, you think it's easy, but it's not. It's a really mentally challenging thing. And it's nice to be out in nature and just, listening to music and being with other people. It's, if you find joy in it, that's, I suppose that's the ultimate point I'm trying to make about all my training. I could obviously talk about it for ages. But when I mention the little things like 8,000 steps a day and getting the right foods, and it's all natural stuff. This is all stuff that we need to be doing every day, but we don't, because the current lifestyle of this world, this contemporary society, is just so different from what our ancestors grew up with. So it's just trying to be as natural as possible. That's why I decided to go on a diet. And I'm feeling better for it. I still feel like I'm holding myself back a bit here from you guys. I am being completely honest about everything I've mentioned so far. We all have our own motivations and goals towards things. Why do we go out for a job? Why do we earn money? Why do we go to the gym? Why do we go out clubbing? Why? Those are my reasons. I want to be the best version of myself. We're all NPCs, but how good at it can you be to succeed in life? You know, I'm 25 now. Having a midlife crisis? I don't know. Hopefully not. I'm just babbling now. But the point is, at the end of the day, I am currently at the best I've ever looked. Physically, mentally, I'm a bit all over the shop, but that's something that I'm working on. I'm currently unsure of whether to consult a therapist. All the stuff that I'm going through at the moment, I'm speaking to a lot of close friends about. Never bottle things up, guys. I know everyone says that, but now I'm saying it. Because some things in life don't get easier. They actually get harder before they get easier. And I'm currently on that road where things are getting harder. Not necessarily with the training. I am enjoying my training most days. Sometimes I'm not always in the zone. Sometimes I am. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff playing on my mind, and I just go down a rabbit hole of things that they motivate me, but also sometimes detract from it, which is a bit scary. Um, but it's what's important for me, and hopefully it's important for you guys as well. I know I haven't got a large audience. This is still baby steps. Um, I suppose the irony of that is this podcast isn't a marathon. It's a very slow pace, a steep walk, but I'm getting there. The fact that I'm still here now, being present, talking about these things, talking about my life in front of you guys with such openness is clarity, and it's therapy for me. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to discuss for today. Hopefully, you guys got some enjoyment out of this. We're currently nearly 30 minutes in, and it's flown by. Um, so, yeah, thanks for checking in on me, guys, and please make sure to follow this podcast if you're not already on the listening platform you're on, or if you're on YouTube, like the video. It all really helps. All these little things. You think it's tiny, it doesn't mean much, but it means a lot for me. And if I can keep this going, then all the more credit for it. So thanks for tuning in to Life of an NPC, episode 5, I believe. As promised, there will be more content to come in the foreseeable future. A lot of things to discuss, and please stay tuned for more. So that's life. Cheers, guys.